My name is Tim Storey. They call me the life coach to the stars. And you are listening to Contagious Influencers of America, CIA, with 9-time Emmy Award winner David Sams. David, how you doing today?
I love being the director of the CIA.
Yes.
I can actually go into a restaurant now and they say, "What do you do?" And I go, "Well, I'm the director of the CIA."
And who would have ever thought it? I mean, when you were a young guy, there's no way you even had that on your dream board.
No, not at all. But I do now. Absolutely. You kidding? We have the most interesting, fun time here. I love hanging with you, my friend. I love the life coaching that you bring me. Got so much response to the last one, and boy, it just keeps getting better and better and better. But we are getting some questions from people, too, that we need to address.
Yes.
At some point, because everybody seems to want a piece of Tim Storey and the wisdom that you bring.
Well, thank you. But see, let's break down this word again. Contagious, what does that mean to you?
That means, we're all in the sharing now.
Okay.
Right? So to me, it means top of the line sharing. It means it's worth sharing. It's a ripple effect of encouragement. I think that's what contagious means. In this
all right.
case.
Second word, influencers.
Well, look, we all can see with social media the power, the magnetism, the amazement that we have from influencers.
Yes. So let's talk about this amazing guest, Gigi Butler. I mean, wow.
Well, first of all, this woman makes amazing, amazing cupcakes. She is one of a kind. She blew me away. I had gone to Gigi's before, but I didn't know if Gigi really existed. I've been buying Tommy Bahama shirts all my life, and I was distraught to learn that Tommy Bahama is a fictional character.
Exactly.
He doesn't exist.
It threw you off. So for a minute you said, who's Gigi Butler?
Yeah, I walked into this cupcake joint, and I'm telling you, first of all, you think, how can you make any money selling a cupcake? But
Yes.
Believe me, she has made a fortune selling these cupcakes because they are addictive.
Yes. And so many people are partaking of them, and her business has been explosive.
Well,
but the thing that I love here is, as you're about to say, is that it is full of sweet irony.
And the really cool thing about her, because today's show is sort of centered around the whole idea of reinvention.
Yes.
And I know that we're going to talk about that later because, I've got things to talk about in my own life as it relates to reinvention. But here is a girl that started out, wanted to be a country music singer, like so many young women, moved to Nashville, ended up starting a cleaning service. And as we will soon learn here in a couple of minutes, she hired a number of other young women to help her clean. She cleaned the homes of Nashville royalty,
Yes.
by the way. She figures that over her career, she cleaned 65,000 toilets.
And that's just amazing.
That's a lot of crap, by the way.
Yes. And the thing that I love about this, David, is that you stay in hotels and I do too. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So could you imagine somebody that is the maid that is having to do all that deep cleaning they don't want to do? To know that they could have a dream and do something amazing like Gigi Butler, to go from cleaning toilets to running an amazing company that is bringing people so much excitement, life, and really enjoying her product.
And she really didn't have anything. It's not like she had a silver spoon.
Nope.
It's not like she had some inheritance to start her company. She basically started on a couple of nickels, and it just blew up. She ended up franchising the thing. I think she had over 100 stores. She just recently sold that aspect so that she could focus on being Gigi. And being the face of the company, and she still owns her Nashville stores. But I'm getting way ahead of myself because I want her to tell her own story. She is amazing. She is an inspiration. And here's the beautiful part. She's a single mom.
Yes.
She has been able to do this by herself with her daughter by her side. So what an inspiration she is. Let's listen to the interview. So Gigi, first of all, welcome. Glad to have you here. It's amazing. I saw you on Undercover Boss on some rerun. I think on CNBC or someplace. I was in New York about 6 weeks ago.
How funny.
Yeah. And I'm like, I have got to get you out here.
She lives in Nashville. It's convenient.
Amazing story.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank
I
you.
love amazing stories. So your Undercover Boss episode.
Yes.
How did they approach you?
Well, they called me and said, we want you to be on this. And I'm like, I can't afford, because the company has to give all that gift. Those gifts, it's like $200,000. Like, I'm a small company. I can't afford that.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to know me. My voice is on the radio. My picture's on the wall. I can't do this. So I said no. Well, they came back 6 months later. They're like, we have to have you. We want you on there. I'm like, I don't think I could do this. But they convinced me. And then what people don't realize is my partner and I went without a paycheck for 6 months so we could afford that show. Because that was a $200,000 hit for a small little company. And we weren't a big company at all. And most people are like, oh, they just have millions to give out. No, we didn't. We sacrificed to do that. And that is the third hardest thing I've ever done. I have the fourth thing now. Birthing a company, birthing a child, going on Undercover Boss, and doing TED Talks. So those are four hardest things I've ever done.
I love Undercover Boss. I always did. The problem I have with it is I think, to me, are there really that many dumb people, employees in America, who have absolutely no clue that they're on Undercover Boss? I mean, I understand the first 7 or 8 episodes. Maybe you haven't seen it, but who hasn't seen Undercover Boss?
Well, they go in and they prep them so well that they tell them it's another show. So they did not know who I was. They wouldn't have told me the things that they said behind the scenes had they known I was Gigi.
So what kind of show? Do they say it's a documentary?
They said it's a documentary. Ours was an angel investor. So they kind of hinted that he was either going to be Beyonce or Oprah, investing into one of 15 female entrepreneurs in the country that they were going to give $250,000 to invest in their dream. So these people were like all on it. And then I came in looking like this hippie and this passive. They're like, she's never going to make it. She sucks. They're like, she's horrible. And I had to play this part. And I'm like, oh, you little, I wanted to strangle some of them. But it was so funny because they did not know. They did not know.
What was the one thing you learned from that experience?
I learned that we were consistently inconsistent because we had grown so fast, number one. We got off the road and we really worked hard. The last 3 years, we've worked so hard to be consistent. I also learned how special and passionate these people, because I grew so fast, I don't know all my employees, how passionate they were about Gigi's. They loved the brand. They loved what I've done. They loved the American dream. And they loved what I had built. And it was so humbling to find out about these people that I didn't get the honor to meet yet, and to find out how much they love the brand. And I thought it was just a wonderful gift.
Did I hear it right? This mission, when this passion was revealed to you when you launched your business, literally at one point, you had like $30 in the bank or something.
Well, the day February 21st, 2008, my first cupcake shop downtown Nashville opened. I had $33 left to my name.
Wow.
And I literally opened my doors praying that God would bring customers in. And he did.
And you went from that day to having over 100 stores?
We have 114 stores in 24 states and growing.
You've really stretched that $33. That's amazing.
I stretched it as far as it could go.
Let's go back. I want you to take me back to the beginning. Tell me who you are. Tell me who Gigi is. Tell me about where you come from.
Okay.
And tell me about your family.
Well, I was born in Oklahoma, raised in a small desert town in California, very hardworking, grounded, godly family. My dad had an amazing entrepreneurial spirit. He was a fireman, a Los Angeles County fireman, but they have some free time. So we got in the potbelly pig business. I didn't even know what a potbelly pig was at the time. Like, okay. Or let's open a hair salon. I'm like, Dad, you don't even know how to cut hair. How's that going to work? Or one restaurant, which turned into 5 restaurants. And he didn't succeed at everything, but what it taught me at a very early age is he was never afraid to fear and just go for it. So I just learned, I'm just going to go for it. And at age 7, I announced to my mom and dad I was going to be a country music singer-songwriter and moved to Nashville one day. And they're like, oh, okay, that's an ambitious goal considering you have no music background, but go for it, honey. And I got into talent shows and everything I could do, music lessons, voice lessons. But I needed something to fund my dream. So I decided to open a cleaning company because I'm 15. I mean, I didn't have any resources, didn't have a car. So I knocked on doors at assisted living place a mile from my house. And that was the birth of Gigi's Cleaning Company. And cleaned houses during the day after school, started singing in bars at about 17, 18. And at 19, I took my second semester college money, dropped out of college. Don't recommend that to anyone. And I moved to Nashville, made a music demo, and moved. And I knew no one, didn't have a place to live, didn't have a job, and had $500 to my name. But this is what I kept telling myself. If God could deliver the unbelieving Israelites across that Red Sea, then he could form a way for me in Nashville. So I just was like, you know what? I'm going. I'm going to walk on faith. I'm going to just step out. And I did. And I worked at Red Lobster right down the street in Cool Springs for a couple of years, built up my cleaning business, and then started cleaning during the day and singing at night.
Wow.
The turning point of my life happened.
Hold on. Let's go a little deeper on that, okay? Why did you have such a passion for country music? Why did you decide to just up and leave, come to Nashville, and go for that dream? What was it?
This is a great backstory. When I was 7, I did my first talent show. And I had my little red velvet dress on with my white sleeves, and it was Christmas time. And my teacher pushed me up. It was a crowded auditorium. It was dark. And she's like, get up there, get up on stage. And a guy in the back announced, now, little Miss Gina Butler is going to sing. What child is this? And when that spotlight hit me, I'm like, this is for me. I'm doing this for the rest of my life. Oh, this is what I'm destined to do. And I thought all along that I was destined to be a singer. It was so strong in my life and my body. I got my hands on every music I could. Dolly Parton, Merle Haggard, Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond. I mean, we listened to tons of different, Captain and Tennille, Statler Brothers. And I would learn harmonies. I was also, we were raised in the Church of Christ, so it was a cappella. So I had to be really good with my harmonies and in tune. And I just knew that this was what God had in store for me. Now, the backstory is we don't really know what God has in store for us because I'm on this path and I'm probably one of the most determined human beings in the planet. And I think the only God-given gift I really have is tenacity. So it's just gone from there. So that's where it started.
Wow. So when you came here and you were singing and you decided to start this little cleaning company on the side, tell me a cleaning company story.
Oh.
I want to hear. I want the dirty laundry here. I need to know what it's like singing by night, cleaning by day.
Okay, I'll tell you some backstories. When starting at age 15 and cleaning people's toilets is a very humbling thing. And in my lifetime, I'm proud to say I've cleaned 65,000 toilets, and I have the scars and calluses to prove it on my hands. Now, being someone's servant in their home is a completely different thing. It depends on the person, how they were raised, how they're going to treat you, if they're going to treat you like the help, which many did. Here's a story. I was cleaning for a lady in Belmead, blue bud, lots of money. And one of my little girls that I had just hired, she was on drugs and trying to get her life together, and 2 kids, single mom. And she was in the kitchen with Miss Martha, we will say. And I went to help her that day, and no, Miss Martha, no, Miss Martha, I don't want. And I'm like, what's going on in there? So I walked in the kitchen, and Miss Martha and her daughter had just come from the farmer's market and had some tomatoes, a flat of tomatoes. And she was trying to pawn off the rotten tomatoes to my sweet girl. And my girl's almost into, I don't want your rotten tomatoes. I don't want. And she goes, well, you ungrateful. And I said, what's going on in here, Miss Martha? She goes, well, I am trying to give you and your worker our rotten tomatoes. And you all need these. And I'm like, why do I need your rotten tomatoes? Well, someone's got to eat them. I'm like, okay, hold on. I said, I don't want your rotten tomatoes. And she's like, well, how dare you not respect what I'm trying to give you? I said, who wants someone's rotten tomatoes, Miss Martha? I can go out and buy my own tomatoes. Well, your kind needs these rotten tomatoes. I'm like, my kind don't need any rotten tomatoes. Thank you very much. And she goes, well, I'm just going to go. You've just made me upset. Here, your check's on the table. And she walked away and I'm like, oh, what just happened here? That lesson was so, it just opened my eyes to, from now on, I am going to only give my first fruits to people. I don't care. I will never give someone rotten tomatoes. I don't care if they're cleaning my toilet or they're my manager or they're a superstar. I'm going to give people my first fruits. And I walked out and my girl was crying. She was beside herself. I don't want a rotten tomato. I'm like, you don't have to have them. Why would she think that we would deserve rotten tomatoes just because we clean her house? I'm like, well, some people aren't kind. And some people don't give their first fruits. And let's not be that person. So I learned, I may not have gone to the school of Harvard of business school, but learning in people's homes and learning how to treat people came organically. And I learned also, I cleaned for very high profile music stars, doctors, lawyers, huge, tons of money. I cleaned 20,000 square foot homes. And they say, oh, I'd be dusting this guy who's a wizard. He was like this genius with stock market. I'd dust his desk and go, come here. This is why I'm selling these shares today. And this is what I'm going to do. So if you're going to, I'm like, Now I maybe have been dusting his desk, but the things I learned from the people that I cleaned, all these influential people, was a wealth of knowledge. Priceless. Priceless. So those are a couple examples.
No, that's good stuff. The folks that you clean for, okay? How many of them over the last, few years have walked into your cupcake shop and go, hey, what are you doing behind? Of course, they probably all know that.
I'm sure some of them did, and they're all proud of me. It's so nice to come from humble beginnings and someone that cleaned houses. And I get so many emails. Hey, you used to clean my house. I'm so proud of you. I saw you on, the cover of the business journal. Wow, I'm so proud of you. So it's so nice to have someone proud of you. I think that's the best thing anyone can do is be proud of me. And because I came from that. So it's nice. It's nice that people are proud of what I've accomplished.
There's somebody out there right now listening, he or she, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm selling T-shirts on Venice Boulevard, or I'm a nanny, or I'm cleaning a home. And by the way, one of the greatest stories that we've ever had was Mark Burnett.
Right.
Of the Mark Burnett, who's the brains behind Survivor, The Apprentice, Shark Tank, all of those, The Voice.
Right.
Okay, he's the guy.
Yeah, he's amazing.
His first job in Hollywood when he came to America he was a nanny. He went from nanny to chauffeur to selling T-shirts on Venice Boulevard. That's why I bring up that example. But there's somebody out there listening right now. What would you say to them? What encouragement can you give to them that'll help them think that, what? Maybe there is a greater plan. Maybe God has a greater purpose for me. I have no idea what it is right now. I don't even know how much faith I have in myself. What would you tell them to encourage them?
I'd say the common theme is hard work, tenacity, don't give up. And even if something, my dreams died with country music, I felt like a failure for a long time, but I started rebuilding and reinventing myself. I got my hands on every self-help book, the Bible, faith-based books, and I started learning how to love myself. And it doesn't matter what we do. If we're happy with what we do, I loved cleaning. I loved it. There were so many benefits of the freedom of that. So if you love what you do, it Doesn't matter if you're a construction worker or you're a guy on Wall Street. If you don't like it and you're making tons of money and you're on Wall Street and you don't have any joy, what type of life is that? It's all about joy. It's all about, am I joyful? Am I making a difference? And I made a difference when I cleaned toilets because people came home and they were happy. So it's just about being happy. It's not about the bottom dollar. It's not about making money. It has never been about making money for me. Money is very tangible. It comes and goes. But it's about the challenge. An entrepreneur truly loves the challenge of loss because it's about creating something new. So if you're creating something new and you're selling T-shirts, who cares what you do as long as you're happy and you're giving back. I think that's what a lot of people get stuck with. Like, I don't make enough money. I can't tithe. I don't da-da-da. You can't outgive God, period. You can't outgive someone. If you give, it's coming back to you. The universe, there is an amazing way in this universe. Things come back. All the seeds you sow, it comes back tenfold. You can never outgive. So if people are greedy and stingy with their love, with, I'm going to keep up this guard, I'm not going to give, I'm going to just save it for myself. Okay, well, dude, you're not going to be successful because if you don't give and if you're not grateful, period, you will not be successful. Period.
As my good friend and a life coach, someone who's a contributor to our show, Tim Storey. His whole thing is every setback is a setup for a comeback.
That's right.
For example, your story where you had this setback, and the setback was, you know what, the country music thing ain't going to happen.
Well, that's a good story. You want me to tell you that one?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
So I started cleaning for a new family in town. They had a daughter, 15 years old, and full of musical talent. And I had been singing, chasing my dream for as long as she'd been alive. And I was cleaning the teen's bathroom. And she started practicing guitar. And she played a song that she had just written, Teardrops on My Guitar, Taylor Swift. And I thought, oh my gosh, I knew where she was going. And I'm cleaning her toilet. And I'm not going there. I was devastated. I packed my cleaning supplies in my truck that day. I drove home. I'm like, I'm done. What am I going to do with my life? And that was the day that I'm like, I'm done. I'm done getting my butt pinched at Tootsie's, passing a tip jar around at 30 years old. I'm done. And here's this 15-year-old, musical talented person. And what do I do now? And so I was in that space of why me for a couple years. Like, why me? I'm just going to be a house cleaner. Why, God? Why all this hard work? All that I did. And the why me started turning into, well, why not me? So I think people get stuck in the why me. And I'm like, well, don't get stuck in the why me. Because if you're stuck in that why me, you're always going to be in that why me. Go, why not me? Okay, it's cleaning. Because when you're grateful and you go, why not me? That's when you're open to opportunities. And if something happens like Cupcakes or a call from my brother or whatever, you're on it because you already have a grateful heart and you're into why not me.
So tell me about that call from your brother that changed your life.
It was a life-changing. It was fall of 2007. I was cleaning a bathroom for a client at the time. There's a common theme there. And he called me. He's like, hey, I'm in New York City. My brother, Steve. And he's like, I stood in line at a cupcake shop for 2 hours. I'm in Central Park eating a red velvet cupcake. Yours and Mom's cupcakes are better than theirs. You should open a cupcake shop. I'm like, what? Well, I'm having fun. I said, I got to go. I'm cleaning about. He's like, no, think about it. And I got off that phone and I looked in the mirror. I had my pink cleaning gloves on. And I'm like, why not? Why not me? I'd failed before at music. I'd done all this. What do I have to lose? And so I went to 4 banks the next day, and they all laughed in my face. And they're like, Cupcakes, are you crazy? I'm like, I don't think so. No one would give me a business loan. And even though I'd been in business for almost 18 years at that time, so I took out $100,000 cash advances on my credit cards and I went for it.
Oh, Dave Ramsey would have loved that.
Oh, I'm the Dave Ramsey face model. It's definitely not the Dave Ramsey way, although he's never had me on a show. I wonder why. So, but that's the only option I had at the time.
Yeah.
And I went for it. I just said, I'm doing this. $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going for it. And everyone I told, my cleaning clients, I'm like, I'm going to open a cupcake shop. They're like, bless her heart. I hope she doesn't quit her day job. Oh my. And even though they love my goodies, because I always baked for them,
Mm-hmm.
they're like, we feel sorry for her.
Mm-hmm.
So the doctors would say, I'll take a dozen, or I'll take a dozen to my birthday luncheon. Or so what they didn't realize is they were helping me form this new company in my kitchen at night, because that's where all the creations happen. So while the space was being built out, I was, doing about 12 dozen cupcakes a night.
Wow.
So that's where it happened.
Wow. And where did you get the recipes?
Here's the backstory of that. My great-great-grandmother, turn of the century, opened her first bakery in Oklahoma called Bill's Bakery.
So it's in your DNA to begin with.
Oh, it's in, I was at 5 years old on a stool making pie crust. Come here, let me show you how to do this. So I never knew I'd be doing it for a living, but all the stuff my mom bakes, my great aunts bake, my mom, everyone, my grandmother, everyone in my family bakes. I had no idea I'd be doing it for a living. I just loved it. I love to bake. So that's the backstory of that.
A few days ago, I had the chance to interview Mike Lindell. I don't know if you know Mike.
Yes.
A few years back, he was a Coke addict.
Right.
And now he sold, and then he found Jesus, and he sold 35 million pillows.
Yeah, right.
You were cleaning toilets.
On his pillow top, and I have a pillow in my bedroom. So thank you, Mike.
And you've gone from cleaning toilets to creating the cupcake empire.
Yeah.
I really think that you have a gift, and that gift is, especially now that you tell me that you spent many years literally being mom to and or the coach of or the mentor of all of these young ladies you had cleaning for you. Right? And some of them were going through really difficult times. Right?
Yes.
And I suppose a lot of them were single moms or
they were.
Yeah.
Off drugs and handicapped. I had a lady that was deaf, and they needed something. They needed stability.
And you're a mom.
I'm a single mom. 6-year-old little girl.
I think we need a mentoring show. We need a mentoring show where you are mentoring other single moms.
I'd love it. Let's do it.
I mean, there got to be millions of single moms.
Well, there are. I mean, these women are they're superheroes.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they're just angels, most of them. And people don't realize the impact that you have on a child, or you have on just the influence. So it's very important. I'd love to do that show, and I can't tell you how many videos or emails or letters I get that you inspired me today.
Mm-hmm.
If you can do it, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right. If I can do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's just being open.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think that'd be a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Let me ask you, your role as a single mom and your role as the head of your company. Now you're the face of the company, right?
Right.
But you still own your stores in Nashville.
I do. I still get in there and frost and put an apron on, and that's my favorite part. Creating, I'm in the back, I'm just sweating and got frosting all over me, and
yeah,
that's my favorite part. I think going back as a single mom.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
In the Bible.
And how do you balance the two?
It's very hard. In the Bible, God says he takes care of the orphans and the widows, right? Well, I think the single mom is the new edition of the orphans and widows in the Bible. I think God gives the single mom a little helping boost. He says it in the Bible, and this is the modern day orphan and widow. There's not a father in the home. I do it all. I provide. I'm the sole provider. And what's the balance of me? I want to be a full-time mom. I had one child. I have one chance with her. That's the most important thing, is being in her life, getting home, kissing her bed at night, reading her books, taking her to school. I mean, that's the most important thing. So how can we balance that? How we balance that is women are the best multitaskers in the world. I mean, we're given this super God gift power.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of our superpowers. And we have this ability to just wear so many hats every day. We have the brains, we have the smarts, we can be a CEO. The important thing is you have a child. You had that child out of your belly. That should be your first priority. To me, it's your first priority.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you balance that? How do you still make a living and make ends meet and still be there and still have joy, by the way? Oh, and have a personal life.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
very hard to balance. But there are ways of doing it. I spoke yesterday at the University of Florida, and a lady stood up and she said, what have you done to get joy? And how did you go from this wreck of being a failure? And she goes, I'm going through it right now, and I have kids, and I have to. And I said, well, without being preachy, I'm not standing up here to preach. That's not my thing. That being said, have you opened Psalms and Proverbs lately? It's a wealth of knowledge and joy and redemption. And so that's the guideline. How am I going to do this, God? I open up Psalms and Proverbs. I read other parts of the Bible as well. But that is the single moms, if they could read that, just one verse a day, it brings you joy. You figure out how to do it. You get strength and you get wisdom. So.
Well, that's good stuff. And I just want to say that I interview a lot of single moms, and I just think they are such champions.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
really
and I look at my ex-wife, even though our relationship didn't work out, she's the greatest mom in the world.
Yeah.
We together have raised two incredible young ladies. I'll remember way back when we were going through our stuff, and I just realized when I had a choice to make as to what I would say to my kids and
Right.
whether I was going to get into the fray of the craziness and all that,
Mm-hmm.
or put them in the middle of it.
Right.
And I remember one time I said one really awful thing about their mom, and they were,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 8 and 10, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, they were sitting right across from me, and I just remember their eyes got so big when I said what I said,
Yeah.
right? And the expression on their faces
Right.
just hit me so like smack in the face. And I saw them like tear up a little bit, right? And I'm like, I'm never going there ever, ever, ever again.
Right.
And I never did.
Right.
I drew the line. It was a wonderful thing, but I realized over time, you know what? They're only going to have one mom.
Right. And even if they're not the best of moms or no one's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
No one's going to come out of this life perfect. No mom is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, your mom's your hero.
Mm-hmm.
And they gave birth out of their belly to you.
Mm-hmm.
And a mom is a mom. And so when someone says, oh, your mom is dead, it's like, oh, that's my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Wait a minute, you're devastating me. You're breaking she's my hero.
Mm-hmm.
And dads can be heroes too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm dating a guy was a full-time dad. He did it all himself.
Mm-hmm.
And he is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So there are awesome, godly men out there that are the best dads ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wish all the single women in the world had even ex-husbands that were good to their kids. It doesn't always happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I wish they had that because they need both parts.
Yeah, absolutely.
They do.
Absolutely.
To be whole.
Absolutely. So your Gigi's Cupcakes, you decided that your homegrown store or 2 or 3, how many did you have?
I just had one, and that's
okay.
franchising.
You had one,
right?
And you didn't grow the other 2 or 3 in Nashville before you started franchising.
I did. The first year I opened in February 21st, 2008. We had by the end of 2008, we had a Spring Hill store, and I had just built a Cool Springs store.
And those were your stores?
My mom and dad built the Spring Hill store originally, and I built the one in Cool Springs.
Okay.
And by the end of 2009, the end of that one, we had 12 stores.
Wow.
It became in demand. Like I had a guy from Indianapolis came in, and there was a line out my door, and I had flour all over my face, and he's like, "Oh, I want one in Indy." And I'm like, "You want what? A cupcake? Or what are you wanting?" And he's like, "I want a Gigi's." I'm like, "There's only one Gigi. You're looking at her. What are you talking about?" So they became in demand. Like it was this snowball effect I'd never experienced in my lifetime. And I just couldn't. I just had to get on the big old, snowball and just roll with it because it was going to happen whether it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It was
Took on a life of its own.
It did. It did.
So here you have a dozen shops, and now people are talking about, hey, I want one of these where I live, right?
Right.
So when did the light bulb go off that, hey, you know what? This is a bigger idea than just, my local shops.
About 3 months after I opened. I mean, literally. But
3 months.
3 months. Branding is so huge for me. If I've learned anything in the music industry, you have to be branded well. You have to have your own shtick. So I call it in the music industry. And three of my favorite brands have always been Martha Stewart, Victoria's Secret, and Tiffany's, because they are so iconic with what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that robin egg blue box, you want that box. So I wanted my boxes to represent a gift. And it was so important for me to be branded well and be consistent with the product. So I think that's why it took off so quickly, because I was a stickler for no, we're not doing that. And we are going to be on cue. I didn't do everything right, obviously, but I really tried to be branded well and be consistent. And that's why people want franchised. That's why they go to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, because then when they walk in those doors, they know what they're going to get.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it's pretty the same all across the country.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the challenge of franchising and building so quickly, being consistent.
Tell me how you franchised. Did you go to somebody that specialized in franchising? How did that happen?
Well, the landlord that said I was crazy would never, release that space to me. He came in after there was a line out my door. He's like, "You should franchise this." I'm like, "Well, what's a franchise? Let me read about it. I'm an avid reader." And he's like, "Well, I've got this experience. I was a franchisor and a franchisee, and I'm really good with properties." And I'm like, "Okay." And so I read about it. I'm like, "Let's start a franchise company. Gigi's franchising." And he's like, "Well, we need investors. We need $250,000. I'm like, "Honey, I started with $33. I've saving $26,000. Let's use that." And so we did it.
Wow.
We started Gigi's franchising with $26,000.
Is this the same guy that looked at you and said, when you started and you had the $33, how are you going to pay your rent?
Yeah. He's like, "You're crazy." And I'm like, "Well, that's a common theme lately, but I think I can do this." He's like, "I feel sorry for you." You're what? Alan Thompson, by the way, that's his name. And he finally broke down and leased me the perfect space. I mean, I bugged him for months.
Wow.
Called him. And I said, "Well, God told me to do this."
Right.
I mean, I'm sorry, God. And he's like, "Well, God's going to be mad at me if I don't lease this to you." But he later jokes and says, "Well, I should have said and been quick enough. God told me not to lease to you." But he wasn't. Thank goodness. He let me lease the perfect space.
Yeah.
And when I stood at the Broadway store, it's downtown on 19th and Broadway, Midtown, and I looked in that parking lot one night at 6:00 at night, and I had my brother Randall there. He was interviewing for another job, and I saw this little sign that said "For Lease," and I literally had a vision. I said, "I see myself going in here. I see myself baking cupcakes." And my brother's like, "No, we got to look at other spots." I said, "No, this is it." And it was so strong and clear to me that I had to put it there. I had to do this. And it was just like a vision. And I've not ever had one of those since, but it was so strong. I had to do it. It's like God was like, "Nope, you're doing this." Even when, I didn't know why. Everyone thought I was crazy. I just had to do it.
So what's the average cost of a cupcake at your place?
They're $3.50 now.
$3.50.
And if you buy 5, you get 1 free. So there's mix and match. We do cupcakes, cheesecakes, scoops of ice cream. We do huge wedding cakes. I mean, people don't understand that we do cakes. We have 278 flavors in all of the system, and we can do any flavor, any kind of cake across the country. And they still say, "Do you do cakes?" I do cakes. Yes. So that's still a frustrating thing.
So
We do cakes.
What's your favorite flavor?
My favorite flavor is Hunka Chunka Banana Love.
Ooh, I like that.
For 2 reasons. It's a banana cake with dark chocolate
Did you bring me
chips.
one of those?
I don't know if it's in that box of 11.
Yeah, I just want to mention you brought me a dozen. It wasn't a baker's dozen. It was more like you're cheating me out of a dozen.
I know. I bought him a dozen cupcakes today, and I opened the box, and there's one missing. I'm like, "What the?" Someone at the restaurant before I got here stole it. I was so embarrassed. So you at least have 11. Hunka Chunka is my favorite because, not because of the flavor, although the flavor is fantastic. That was the first cupcake that the day I opened, I baked. I'm like, let's do Hunka Chunka Banana Love. And also backstory is that is the bread loaf, the Hunka Chunka Banana bread loaf that I would make for all my cleaning clients at Christmas time and wrap it in a little bow and say, I'm grateful for you, thank you. So it's more than just the flavor. It's the meaning of, wow, it brought me way back from cleaning. So that's my favorite flavor.
So you've been making cupcakes for 10 years. Right.
10 years. 10 years this year.
So over that 10 years, tell me the one thing that has really stood out to you as a entrepreneur that you have learned over that 10 years that you wish you would have known 10 years ago, but now you can say, thank God for wisdom. Thank God for that vision. What would it be?
So many things, but the one thing that comes to my mind is learning to let go so I can grow. I think people have such a hard time of letting go. Oh, it's my baby business. And that was me. I mean, I'm not saying everyone wants to micromanage because it's something so important. So how do you let go so you can grow? And I think that was the most important, but I've been a series for the last 10 years of letting go. That's what my life has been. And it's so scary and it's so hard. And it's been the hardest learning curve. And I have a hard time with it. I don't like change. I don't want to let go. But I had a guy that was a counselor of a Fortune 15 company. And he's like, do you want to be a baker? He came into me one day. He's like, do you want to be a baker or do you want to be a franchisor? Oh, I can do both. No, you can't. Oh, no. Oh, yeah. No, you can't. A couple years later, hey, do you want to be the face of this brand or do you want to be, oh, no, I can do both. No, you can't. And so he's like, let's put it this way. Do you think Colonel Sanders, when he was alive, went into all his stores and wrung the necks of the chickens and pulled the feathers off? I'm like, no. He's like, quit wringing the chickens' necks. Get out of there and be the face of the brand. Mm-hmm. So now I'm still the face of Gigi's Cupcakes, and now I'm still growing. Now I'm reinventing myself. I'm reinventing the Gigi Butler brand, and it's all the series of letting go. All the things I'm going to have to redo and relearn. So I don't think we get it right ever. I think it's just a process of growing and becoming a better person as we evolve. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. I'll tell you, over the years, I have had a number of scenarios. If my timing had been a little better, I would have done so much better in life.
Oh, I get it. Oh, yes.
By selling this property, this show, this web business, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And I want to know what went through you to make that decision that the timing was right. Who helped you make that decision to actually sell that part of your business, the franchise part of your business?
Well, we took it to 110 stores, and I was at the point I'd gone on Undercover Boss. I knew I couldn't be the CEO anymore. I had a daughter. I was dragging her. I really wanted to be a full-time mom, and I was tired. And this will be in my book. I mean, it'll get a lot more detail, but I was tired of the fight. I fought the franchisees. I fought the owners. I fought my family. I fought my business partner. I had just bought my parents out. We didn't talk for 2 years. I mean, it was just horrible time. I fought my CFO and my CEO. And every day I'd go into the corporate office and I'd fight. I'd have to put on this battle of armor. I was so tired of fighting and I wasn't creating anymore. And I'm like, you know what? It's time. And some out of the blue, this amazing Texas company came in and they said, we want to buy the franchise part. And I was like, could we have gotten more money? Absolutely. Was it the hardest thing I've ever done to give away my baby, my second baby, with my face still on it, but they're in total control now? Absolutely. It's the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. I've grieved it. I've suffered loss. I mean, pain and loss and devastation that most people would never even imagine. And I don't really bring all the dirt out, but it was the hardest year of my life. I was devastated. But it was the right thing to do in the end because I wanted to be a full-time mom and I wanted to recreate. And it was time to recreate as an entrepreneur and to live again, because that's what I really love to do. So I wanted to expand the Gigi Butler brand. I wanted to write the book. I wanted to do bakeware. I wanted to do the candles, but I couldn't do it with such a heavy load of this huge company on my shoulders, along with being a single mom, doing it all myself. So it was time. I was tired of fighting. And when it's time, when you just fight and everything, and you're trying to, then I say this about the music industry, when I was trying to beat my head against the wall, trying to create an opening where obviously was no door or a little tiny little window, it was time. It was the hardest thing I've done, but it was time. And have I grieved? Yeah, I grieve it every day. But there's beauty in grief. There's beauty in letting go. And we're growing again, and we're building again, and they've got tons of things going on. I'm still a part of it. I still do some R&D, and I get to be the face, and I get to go kiss the babies and do the grand openings, and I still get all that good part. So it's been an interesting year, couple years.
I can so identify with that too, because even with this podcast, if you look at that and you look at the first couple of episodes versus episode 3, where we decided to go a little different direction because of my relationship with Tim Storey. Basically, at the beginning of that, he sets up the show, and then we have the interview, and then at the end, he life coaches me.
Oh,
I don't know if you ever watched the Sopranos.
yes.
But remember how Tony used to have his therapy session
Right.
all of a sudden I feel like I'm in a therapy session. I'm like,
it.
oh my gosh, did I just say that? I'll never run for governor now, right? But what's weird about it is that in the television world, you would basically figure out what your show is.
Right.
You would do your pilot.
Right.
And or actually you would do a series of run-throughs. Like if you were doing a game show,
Right.
you'd figure out the format.
Right.
And then you would do your pilot, and then it'd go on the air, and it basically would pretty much be that way for the next 20 years, right? You might change out, and the prizes might get bigger and so forth, but it is what it is.
Right. There's a pattern.
There's a pattern.
This set thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, even with this podcast, the idea of, first of all, it's the Wild West.
Right.
Should they be
the
10
unknown.
minutes, 20 minutes, an hour and 10?
You're pioneering.
You're pioneering.
Right.
And then the whole idea that, I'm not a freaking Dick Clark. I mean, it's like, really? I don't want some big open, like I'm somebody. I'm a guy that takes you on a journey.
Been successful.
Yeah, but not on air, in a different way, right? So the bottom line is, now I'm thrust into this, and you try to find your footing, you find your voice.
Right.
It's a process of growing. I don't know what the podcast is going to look like 12 episodes from now, or 30 episodes from now, or 50 episodes from now. I might decide, you know what, I need Gigi here every 3 weeks to do some special thing.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. No, I mean, you just never know
You never know.
what door God's going to open,
That's
right?
That's right.
So I know the whole thing about the whole letting go thing.
You're a type A. You're creative. Here's what I'm getting from you.
You're
very
control
creative,
freak, maybe.
And you're a type A. So but that makes successful people. Type A creative people and micromanaging. But it's so hard. Like, you have this direction, but you also have this creativity, and you're like, oh, what's in door number 1?
Right.
Oh, let me open this. But I want to control it. I don't like change. So that is definitely, I see you as that person. Like, but it's the unknown, and you're like, oh, what am I doing? But that's life.
That's life.
What are we doing?
Yeah.
Life isn't
That's the adventure part.
Right. Life isn't about finding yourself. Life is about creating yourself. That's George Bernard Shaw. I'm not going to take that quote, but I look at that every morning in my bathroom. I'm like, that's right. Life's about creating yourself. God is the ultimate creator. He created us to create. So if we've got our little talent and we dig it in the sand and we don't create, shame on you.
Yeah.
Dig that talent out of the sand and pick it up and do something with yourself. It's those people like, I don't have any talents. Well, you got one talent, so dig it out of the sand, suck it up, and start doing something. It's like, come on, do something with your life. And God's up there going, what the heck? I gave you 3 talents. Do something. Open door number 1, 2, or 3, but get off your tush and just open a door. I'm sure he's so frustrated. I just can't imagine. He's frustrated with everyone, but
What are they thinking?
Oh, good grief. So I see you as that person, type A, but creative and control. You've got game.
Well, thank you.
People that have game has got it going on.
And I love dashikis,
Yeah, they're awesome. It's your shtick.
It is my shtick. I went to Aruba a couple years ago. I love Aruba, and I went to Aruba with my daughter. I took my daughter with me and my oldest daughter, and we're hanging out, and she sees a dashiki, and I'll put one on the website so people
I don't know
what
what
I'm
most
talking
people
about.
think that you definitely have to put that shirt on today, what you're wearing.
Well,
I will never forget it for the rest of my life. It's fantastic. It's pink. How could it not be? Pink and blue.
We're actually making. My daughter she's a marketing major at Pepperdine out in California.
I love Pepperdine.
And she's a marketing major. So she and her boyfriend came up with this idea. And the idea was, Dad, you know what? There's Tommy Bahama, and he doesn't really even exist, by the way. Oh. There is no real, true Tommy Bahama.
He is fantastic.
Although
they are fantastic.
I've got many of Tommy's shirts. But Dad, she gets me to buy one of these things in Aruba, and I wear it through the airport, and I get stopped like 20 times.
I'm sure. It's fantastic.
And she goes, "Oh my gosh!" And I'm like, "Hey, what? It's not the shirt, it's the man. That's what."
Of course it is.
So, but my daughter comes to me a few months ago and she goes, "Dad, you know what? I want to start a Dashiki Dave."
I think it's
right.
I think it's fantastic.
She could have left out the part. It's for every old guy with gray hair who
wants to look cool and
who
hot.
needs a little color in his life. So,
I love it. Well, it's your thing. I mean, and people will remember you because you have your thing. Everyone has their thing. They should find it's branding. You're branding yourself right now.
I look there's something behind this shirt, and I'll tell you what it is. We live a lot of our lives in black and white.
Oh, I know.
We act out our life in black and white.
Right.
It's all about painting by the numbers. It's all about going by the rules. It's all, and I have never really been a black and white person, although I kind of gravitate toward that because I think that's where I should be.
Right.
Right.
I think we all do.
And then I pull myself out of my comfort zone and I feel so much better.
Mm-hmm.
And I really decided, you know what? And I tell people I'm a chameleon. I've always felt in order to survive in business, especially in the entertainment business, because it's changing so dramatic, so radically overnight. And it has been this way forever. Okay. That I really have to be a chameleon.
Everyone should. I mean, everyone needs to evolve. Because
the world is changing at the speed of light. Things are changing so fast, so quickly, and you got to be able to turn on a dime. You got to be a chameleon, right? You got to have that power.
Right.
So I've always had sort of this chameleon thing in me. And then when I started wearing these dashikis, I thought, you know what? This is really me. I usually wear like red or yellow shoes too, but I'm not. I decided to tone it down. But my whole thing is this. I'm not a guy in a black shirt type.
No. Why would you want to be?
A black suit, black shirt, black tie, black this, black that, black and white, black and white, black and white. When I put these on, I really feel like
yourself.
I'm myself, because I think the world is so much more interesting in living color than it is in black and white.
Do you think God created black and white?
No, we have put that. We have created black and white.
We have. We put ourselves in a box, and society puts us in a box.
Well, church is black and white. Religion is black and white.
Right.
I mean, a lot of it is it's our way or the highway.
That way.
Right.
And I totally understand that. That being said, it's a good foundation.
It's a great foundation and all.
You're going to this. You're gonna. Well, God created people to love vanilla, strawberry, chocolate ice cream. Maybe our flavors of how we see God and how God wants us to see Him are different for people because they're different experiences. He's created us with different minds. People see different colors. Why do people have different favorite colors? And everyone you talk to, except men, most men love blue. But why do they have different colors? I love silver and gold and pink and purple. Why? Why do you love? So why should we not? Why should we all be in a box? God does not want us to be in a box. Get out of your box, get off the boats, take a step out and do something.
And you get to come up with new recipes.
I do.
I mean,
do.
you create this stuff, right? I mean,
Well, I
you
used to. I don't do all of it now, but I still go into the Broadway store and I'm like, hey, this sounds good. I'm going to do this chocolate rum cupcake, and I'm going to
oh, I
try to
like
sell
that.
it to Jeff Rubin.
Do
So
you have a Tito's cupcake?
we do. We have a mojito. Yes, we do, and it's
You
fantastic.
Really?
No, wait, that's vodka. Hold on.
No, that's
We
Tito. Vodka's Tito.
Vodka's Tito's.
Did
Do
you
we
bring me
have a
one of those?
vodka? No, I
Wait a
didn't.
minute. You didn't bring me your favorite cupcake. You didn't bring
I
me
brought you some of the
You
favorites.
didn't bring me the Tito's or the vodka cupcake. I mean,
Well,
what?
I don't know if I have a vodka cupcake, but that's a really good idea. We've got a Southern Comfort cupcake. We have a Kentucky Bourbon cupcake. We have a mojito. We have a rum. We have a margarita.
I'm surprised you don't have the Nashville hot chicken cupcake.
Well, Nashville Hot Chicken's right next to us, right? So they go get their chicken, then they come right to the Broadway
There you
store,
go.
which is fabulous. It's a great combination. So
That's
no,
good.
we don't yet, but we use a lot of alcohol in our cupcakes
Uh-huh.
because it just alcohol and sweets, it just blends.
Oh
Sometimes.
yeah. That
really
sounds
good.
good. I like that.
It's different.
I like that. Yeah, it's good. Let me ask you about your book.
Okay.
Your book you have coming up, because I know that your story is one that must be told, must be shared. What role will your book play in someone's life?
Well, it started as just a life story. It's turned into more of a business book on life lessons. So it tells my story, but there's a recipe at the end of every chapter and a life lesson at the beginning of a chapter, or whatever the life lesson is, and then I tell the story, and then a recipe from my childhood, savory things that are really, really special to me. So it's a recipe book, life story, business book. What to do with the life of hard knocks. Basically, it's called The Secret Ingredient.
Mm.
So I give away my secret ingredients all throughout the book of what worked for me, how you can be successful, what you can do to really be a player in this world and really do something with your life.
So give me one of the secret ingredients that's in the book.
I think the secret, one of them is to don't be afraid. If you're going to get up there and get your butt kicked, so stand up for yourself, stand up for really what's right, even if it means someone's going to kick you, that's what it says. Just get up there, be brave, even if it means you're going to get grounded in the ground. Still, get up and be brave. If you have to do something, you do it. You get up there, you suck it up, and you do what's right. I had a life coach when I was just starting Gigi's. He was fantastic, Clement Pepe. He lived in Los Angeles. And he would tell me every day, Gigi, is doing this going to make your life harder, or is doing this going to make your life easier? We do the right thing that makes your life easier. If you do the easy thing first, that makes your life harder. So I always think, okay, and I tell people, is it the easy thing to do, or is it the right thing to do? Because the right thing to do is going to make your life easier. The easy thing is going to make your life harder.
Mm.
So I think that's the best secret ingredient that someone can even get.
That's good.
Most people want to do with our instant gratification society. Oh, well, I'll just do the easy thing. Oh, I deserve this. Oh, it's mine. I deserve a $500,000 job. I just got out of college. No, you don't. Why do you deserve it? No one else did. Suck it up, get a job, be an intern, and learn the ropes. But these days, it just isn't like that. It doesn't seem like people want to do the right thing first.
You are listening to CIA, and I'm telling you, I'm so excited about this interview that I just listened to with Gigi Butler. To think about the idea of her starting with $33. That's what she had left to her name. That is really something. It reminds me of the scripture in the Bible that says, despise not small beginnings. Because David Sams, you never know what's going to come out of it.
You absolutely don't. I have just been blown away by some of our recent episodes where people just decided, you know what? I know God has something in store for me on the other side of that door. And they had the courage to walk through it.
Yes.
First of all, we started out with the Trim Healthy Mamas, Serena and Pearl.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then, of course, we had to balance that out with the Queen of Cupcakes with Gigi Butler. By the way, we're equal opportunity dieting and eating around here. So.
I love the word you just used is courage, because when she had the $33, you don't really feel much leverage when you are down to $33, right?
I can't imagine, but she had a dream, and the dream was worth a lot more than any amount of money.
Yes.
That in her faith. I mean, let's not forget here her faith, because she had that backbone. She had that in her DNA. She knew that God had her back.
No doubt about it.
Can you imagine being out there? Sometimes I have friends who are not believers, and I think, man, this is going to be difficult.
No doubt about it.
It's got to be difficult with that the weight of the world on your shoulders and your shoulders alone.
Yes.
I just can't imagine.
I like to say it this way. You could be the right person with the right plan, but you're always going to have problems. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that today, because in Gigi's stories, she does talk about the challenges, the problems, but yet we then find her on a major show called Undercover Boss. Mm-hmm. Who ever thought that when she was cleaning 65,000 toilets that she would become a person on a hit show, Undercover Boss, and have a company that was estimated at $43 million.
And by the way, I don't know what she eventually sold the company for, because I think that was an estimate back in 2013 or something.
It was 2013.
But she ultimately sold her company, and she still maintains her 3 stores in Nashville. I will just tell you that the beautiful thing is that she had the power to recognize that she had the ability to switch lanes.
Okay, you just said it right there. So the problem stage in her life was that she was sitting in the setback and she had to reinvent herself. Mm-hmm. Can I talk to you, David Sams, as you face your giants? Let's talk about reinvention. She had to reinvent herself. $33 is what she had. She had to almost, make lemonade out of lemons. Tell me a time in your life where you had to reinvent yourself, that everybody knew you as one person, one thing. You made your way around Hollywood, Beverly Hills, ate at the best restaurants, right? And then you had to reinvent yourself. Tell me a little bit about reinvention.
I've had to reinvent myself a number of times. Financially, I've had to reinvent myself. Personally, I've had to reinvent myself, and professionally. So I guess that about covers it all.
It does.
Financially, I've mentioned before that I've lost everything a couple of times in my life through bad decisions, bad choices, market meltdowns. Financially, I've had to reinvent myself. Personally, going through the relationships that I've gone through, messed up. The other one, which is professionally, do you know that when I left King World after launching Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, and the Oprah Winfrey Show,
Yep.
I was so convinced that, boy, I can do this all over again, right?
Yes.
It's sort of like Michael Jackson after he did Thriller. Mm-hmm. I don't think he ever really recovered, because you're always thinking you can top Thriller, right?
Yes.
And I went through the same thing. I thought, wow, I launched Wheel, Jeopardy, Oprah, now I can do it all over again. And you can look back in those years and go, I really did try. And I got shows on the air, but guess what? I did not match Wheel, Jeopardy, or Oprah.
Wow.
They led to the next thing, right? But by golly, I did step up to the plate and I tried. But when I left King World financially, do you know that I actually left, drum roll please, I actually left $35 million at the door.
Yes.
Because I was young, dumb, and I thought I could, make it up next year.
Now that can cause a lot of different emotions to run through a human.
But you know what? I don't have one regret. I really don't, because I would not have met my then wife. I would not have had my daughters.
Yep.
And I probably would be dead today, because I probably would have been driving down the wrong side of the 10 freeway one night, right?
Yeah.
With $35 million in my pocket, be playing the Hollywood game, and I'd be dead.
Yes. So in that case, sometimes because of bad choices, we have to reinvent ourselves. But sometimes it's life happens to us. And I think in the case of Gigi, it was more life happened to her. But I love the fact that she took the time to reinvent herself and be courageous. Talk to me about courage. When you were down, David Sams, what helped pull you up? Was it one Bible verse? Was it a song? Was it a relationship?
I believe in the whisper of God.
Okay.
I believe that God whispers to me from time to time and tells me this is the direction to go.
Wow.
A lot of people would just call it intuition, but I know that there's more to it than just intuition.
What did the whisper of God do to you?
Would encourage me to look in a direction that I was not necessarily looking.
There are people that are listening right now, David. They need the whisper of God. Where do you find the whisper of God? How do you tune in to the whisper of God? How do we get them to whisper?
I believe in environment. I believe that the environment that you create opens so many doors. First of all, we talked before, it's a lot about who you surround yourself by.
Yes.
You know, if you're hanging out with Tim Storey, you're gonna have a whole different experience than if you're hanging out with a guy that wants to put down the world, put down people, put down leaders,
somebody
put
negative.
Down,
Sure.
just somebody negative, right? So you
Yeah.
really have to choose good people to be around.
Yes.
That is going to inspire you like nothing else.
And
as
I
far as
love
I'm
what you
concerned.
just said about the environment.
Yeah.
Is that you have to take time to be quiet, whether that's driving in your car with no radio, no music, just driving down the coast. Have you ever driven down PCH with no music on? And that great feeling you get?
I usually try, whenever I'm in town, I usually try to forget about taking the 405 or 101.
Yeah.
I like to take the PCH, and I like to just look at that amazing scenery, and I will many times pull over on the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
and I will grab a picture or two or three, and I'll watch the birds on the rocks, and I'll watch the waves coming in, and it just fills me up like nothing else can fill you up. And I'll tell you one other thing I do many times is I will find just the right music
Yes.
to create a soundtrack as I'm driving down the PCH,
Yes.
or if I'm at home and I'm having a hard time concentrating, I will find the right kind of music to inspire me. And I find it a great way to open myself to that intuition,
Yes.
to that whisper of God that I was talking about.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's sort of like worship. You know, for those of us who actually go to church, and we have, they used to call it hymns, right?
Yep.
Now we call it a worship experience. You know, that is to set the stage.
Yes, and that creates, as you said earlier, the environment. But one of the things I'm loving, 9-time Emmy Award winner, is open to letting us see inside of your faults, flaws, and failures, admitting there were times you felt discouraged, you felt like maybe it was not working out, and that you had to reinvent yourself. And the first thing that you said is you had to hear the voice of God. See, I write in one of my books that a God idea comeback is God inspired. So the voice does give you inspiration, right? It's God inspired, but here's another one that you love. It is God endorsed. If God be for you, who can be against you? When I say that, what does that say to your spirit?
Oh, man, it just lifts you up. It lifts you up and knows that he's got your back.
Yes.
Like I said before, I can't imagine being on this journey without knowing that, without feeling that. It means everything to me. I have felt alone, as I'm sure we all have many times in my life.
Of course.
But I don't have to continuously feel alone.
Nope.
right? Once I get out of that mind rut thing that we all go through for a moment, all of a sudden we have something to pick us back up again. You know, we don't have to just be wandering out in the desert forever. Eventually we find a stream.
Yes.
You know, he reveals a stream to us. In Gigi's case, I will tell you what I really find amazing about her is that she had a dream, and that was to be a country music singer. Mm-hmm. That's what brought her to Nashville. Sometimes we end up where we think we should be for a particular reason, but God has a different idea.
That's very powerful.
I'll give you one example. When I went through my divorce 10 years ago, and I was in the TV business, and I was doing all that great stuff, big stuff in Hollywood, I then ended up going through, I had a stroke, and I decided, you know what, I better get out of Hollywood and better go somewhere to breathe a little bit. I'm going to be worth a lot more to my kids alive than dead.
Yes.
Right? So I moved to Nashville. I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew that Nashville was a great entertainment center.
Yes.
And you can basically stay in the entertainment business being in New York, LA, or Nashville, it seems like. So I went to Nashville, but with no plan. Then all of a sudden, the doors open wide for me to create Keep the Faith Radio, which now we're on like 300 stations.
Yeah, the biggest...
Number one rated faith-based show in America. Now, if you would have told me 10 years ago that that was going to happen, I would have said you're crazy. So like Gigi, I went there for reasons that I had no idea what they were other than this is where I should go. And God opened a door, and look at what's happened. She builds a incredible empire, Cupcake empire, and I, with my team and my partners, have built this phenomenal radio empire, and now we're doing this wonderful podcast. I wouldn't have met you.
Yeah.
Unless I would have been open-minded and been open to reinvention. So I could have said, hey, I'm a TV guy. I'm not doing radio. That's beneath me, right?
Yes.
I mean, I know a lot of people would say things like, I remember going back 15 years ago, movie stars didn't want to do TV. They thought that was beneath
That's
it.
the truth.
Now everybody thinks that TV and streaming is the coolest, and everybody wants to work for Netflix and Amazon
it's a whole new day.
Hulu, right?
Yes.
I mean, who wants to work for CBS anymore? You're going to work for Netflix.
You are speaking the word reinvention, which also can mean transformation. So I looked up the word transformation in the dictionary. It means change or a shift. See, it's an amazing thing how God knows we need to continue to transform. We need to change. We need to shift. We go from glory to glory, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to Gigi's life. That's what's happening to your life.
Absolutely. And we want to encourage all of you to share your stories of reinvention with us. If you're going through something right now and you're just in a rut, right? And you need some life coaching, I want to encourage you to send us your emails with your questions for Tim, because as you can see, he's helped me out tremendously. He also has an app that is amazing. I was just on it the other day, and I didn't want to get off it. And I know I've promised to get off the internet and don't get on social networks as much. But I want to tell you, Tim, that app that you have is addictive.
You know, it's kind of cool. The person who did the app is the branding specialist for two big companies. One is Nike, the other one is Starbucks.
And I've met him.
Yes.
He has a very interesting look about him.
He does. Yes. He's very creative.
He is you can just tell by looking at him that, man, this guy is he thinks way outside the box.
Stanley is way outside the box. But listen, so it is called the Utmost app. The Utmost app, it's only $2.99. That's what's going to cost you to get coffee at Starbucks, but you only pay once. $2.99. The iTunes store, the Utmost app. I'm with you every single day, helping you to go from almost to most in every area of your life.
Now, I got to ask you, when are you adding Android?
We need to do the Android, and everybody is asking for it. I didn't know you were an Android guy.
Oh, are you kidding? I am so anti-iPhone. Are you kidding?
Okay, well, because of that, my people are listening now. They're probably right this second all over this, David Sams.
Yeah, and hopefully I didn't have too many of you tune out because I say I don't like iPhones. I have a lot of respect for Apple and for Steve Jobs and all that, but I will tell you, my Samsung note
Yes.
is just beautiful. It's amazing. It ties into everything I do, and that's why I'm stuck on it. But I actually went after our last episode,
Yes.
and I played around with your app
Yes.
on my associate's iPhone, and I'm like, this thing is like blowing my mind. And the next thing I do is go to my Android, and I can't find Tim Storey on the Android.
Okay, we're going to get that quickly because of David Sams. All right, so David, please, we're going to end with this today on CIA. Tell us how people can listen to this amazing podcast. And I want to say share, share, share because you care. If you are being inspired by what we are doing, share with other people what we're doing because you care. Tell us how we can listen to this amazing podcast.
Unlike Tim Storey's app, we can be found on both Android and iPhone. So you can find us on iPhone podcast. You can find us on Podcast Addict. You can find us on YouTube. YouTube is really cool.
Yes, getting big.
And we call it the Enhanced Podcast. And we have a special channel there, by the way, called Contagious Encouragement. So it's not just our podcast, it's some of the segments that we also have on our radio program called Keep the Faith, which is heard around the country. And we are also on just about every other podcast platform that you use to listen to your favorite podcast. If we are not on yours for whatever reason, then just reach out to us and we'll make sure that we get on there in the next couple of weeks.
Beautiful. This has been one of my favorite shows.
It should be, because I'm sitting across from you and I make good company.
You make great company. All right, life is good, everybody.
Life is good. And remember, life is so much more fun living it in living color than in black and white. So go out there and do just that. And don't forget, it is a little warm outside right now, and I highly recommend you go to our website and look at what I'm wearing. They're called dashikis.
Yes.
Dashikis. And just look for a Dashiki Dave Dashiki, and I assure you, you will have a much more comfortable summer.
I agree.